when I'm asking questions, I really care about the answer. So I end up in situations where people tell me their stories wherever I am. I could be at a dinner party for my husband, the person's telling me how they started their home building company. And then you eventually find out, his wife left and it wasn't that long ago and now he's tearing up at the table and my husband's like, "April." I'm like, "What?" It's just I care about people's stories.
Hey everyone, I'm Denise Satova, your host of Beyond the Bar podcast. And today it is my pleasure. I have a phenomenal guest, a very dynamic person who built a 35-person law firm from the ground up in Denver, Colorado. Love that place. And has spent well over 30 years showing up for families, really in some of the toughest moments in their lives. And I'd say she's one of the most influential women in Colorado law. And today we find out who she is beyond all of that. April D. Jones, welcome to the show.
Thank you. And thank you for that kind introduction.
Well, very true. So those are the facts. And, you and I had I guess we had some brief experience working together professionally and then just sort of, went on with our lives for many years. I am just I've noticed, when I did a little bit of a research, you've been literally blazing trails. And I'm curious, just tell me your story. How did you become an attorney? I mean, how did you get here?
Well, I'm originally from Los Angeles, California, inner city Los Angeles. And I moved to Colorado in 1998. So we've been here a long time. But I'm originally from Los Angeles and I grew up watching LA Law and wanted to be a lawyer.
Just like that.
Just like that. Now it's today. So
Do you
no,
do you
actually, I
have
didn't. I didn't want to be a lawyer initially. I thought I wanted to be like a nurse, and then I was like, I don't want to be a nurse. If I'm gonna be a nurse, I might as well be a doctor. This is all in some little kid diary that I can come across once every decade. But it does say that. And then at some point, I always talked a lot. I always asked a lot of questions. My mother would say, "April, you're so inquisitive," or "Stop, what would she yell at me? Stop thinking of things for other people to do." That was like a big yell at young April. Um, which now those are very marketable skills, mother. And thinking of things for other people to do and asking lots of questions. I went to law school and it was really interesting. Once I was in law school, then people would say, "Oh yeah, whatever had been an annoyance now had all this context." It was pretty amazing. I'm like, I've been in law school like a week. That is not why I asked so many questions, but it just gave people context for my personality. It was just always a fit, still is.
still is. I love it. Do you find that sometimes people find it annoying when you're asking questions? It's almost like, why do you want to know all that? It's
No, I don't because I'm the space I occupy in the world is one where you ask questions. Now, what I will hear people say all the time, whether I'm buying a car or a candy bar, is that's a really good question. You ask a
mm,
really good question, just randomly for decades now. So apparently I ask really good questions. And when I'm asking questions, I really care about the answer. So I end up in situations where people tell me their stories wherever I am. I could be at a dinner party for my husband, which is a real estate developer, and that you could see him just kind of kick me under the table because here we go. The person's telling me how they started their home building company. And, but I want to know, how'd you start it? When did you start it? How long have you been married? How many kids do you have? And then you eventually find out, his wife left and it wasn't that long ago. And now he's tearing up at the table. And my husband's like, "April." I'm like, "What?" So that's just kind of my norm. But I think it's just, I care about people's stories.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see how that would be very useful, in your field. How is your husband, by the way, when you guys okay, when you're interacting, because it happens in our household, and I obviously nature of this podcast, I'm fascinated, and I also like to ask questions, but sometimes my husband goes, you sound like you cross-examining me. And I'm like, that's not what I'm trying to do. How does it go and flow when you guys have a little disagreement or bigger disagreement?
So we have been married 34 years, give or take. And so yes, he has historically said that. We met when I was halfway through law school. So he has said, April, I'm not on the witness stand. My mother said, April, I'm not on the witness stand. I don't really find that interesting of a thing to say. So I tend to just kind of ignore it.
Yeah.
Um, but if he was here, he'd say, yeah, I tell her I'm not on the witness stand. And I'm like, eh. Um, but what I have made a point to do over 3 decades is to not argue like a lawyer when we're having disagreements or even pre-disagreement, right? You can set someone up to have a in a pre ramp up kind of way. And so I don't do that. Now, the people around me will say she is a lawyer because you always are a lawyer, but they may not know, the extent to which you can set up a discussion or argument, a case, and go in and not back down. So that I don't do at home except for, once a year.
Let's see here.
That's because, I couldn't help it and it was warranted. But yeah, I can say I almost never go full on because it just doesn't have a place in a marriage that you want to last.
No, no, I've learned that too, is you wanna kind of like nip it in the bud. Give it
If
some
it
air and space, but then just be done, resolve it and be done. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
you don't strike me as the lingering kind.
No, no, I don't. In fact, when we were first married, I would be, you have whatever those first marriage arguments are. I wouldn't be married the first year. Ugh, where do you put the toothpaste? Who can you leave your shoes in your foyer? I used to think if you can't leave your shoes in your own foyer, where can you leave them? Well, that's not how you stay married forever to a person who likes things put away. So we resolved that back then. We resolved it. I used to say, Mary Maid saved my marriage. We just hired someone to come, and
Mm.
the house in the type of order that he liked. And I like it like that too. I just can't do it. Well, I can't keep that kind of order. It's like endless. So we just but in fact, one of my big tips for people is hire to your weakness. And that helps a lot in marriage too. You're you, I'm me. What's the third party that we can enlist to make this go well for everybody?
Smart. I love that. I thought I was the only person with that belief. It's just like in a business, you delegate, you don't pretend you do it all, you're gonna exhaust yourself. So I love that cleaning service, perfecto. I said if I have to clean, 5, 6 hours every day, which would take at least to get through, the top to the bottom and the Q-tip and all that. It just, and it wouldn't be to his liking because he's also very particular. Sounds like they have a lot in common. It just does not. It's just not a smart use of the time and energy. Um, so I totally love that. Oh,
And as you get older in your career in your life, you see how significant both of those things are. Time and energy. Time and energy. That's it. I mean, food,
yes.
water, time, energy.
Oh yeah, that's it. I know. It's so and now we live in a world where everything is instantaneous. Everybody's expecting, you to respond and answer right away. And but you strike me as someone who's quick, just like make it happen really quick. You kind of you live in that space.
I do, but in building a law firm as a business, I've had to put in processes and procedures and steps because what served me initially earlier on, that whole just make it happen. I had a front desk office manager bring me a pen, a button back when people wore buttons. Um, and or buttons made buttons, like the little circle
Yeah.
that could have a happy
Yeah.
face. I don't know if people know what buttons are anymore, but they probably think they made a button for her computer. But it said, make it so number one. And I thought that was perfect. I'm like, that's exactly right. But I took a lot of coaching and training once I decided to grow and scale my business. That wasn't until 2019. So for 18 years, I thought that was a fine management style. Like make it so number one and great job. Um, and so yes, I do like that, but it's not a management style.
What is, as you were growing your firm, a large firm, what is something that you personally had to grow through?
Uh, I had to grow through putting structure around what I knew to be true, what I understand and what I understood. We have a training programs and policies, procedures. I have a dear friend who was always talking about mission, vision, values, and I was like, what? Like, get your briefcase, go to court, keep it moving. Um, And I know my mission and my vision and my values. I don't need to put it in the kitchen. And I had to move through that to say, you know what I want to do here is to grow a law firm. My goal was to grow a law firm that this is once all my kids, I had 3 kids under 4, so 3 in college, 3 in
Mm.
diapers, And the plan for my husband and I was when they were all grown up, last one out of college, I could look to and fro and do whatever I wanted to do. Um, And ultimately, that decision initially, the decision was to be on the bench, to be on the Colorado Supreme Court. And that was kind of I had like the 10-year plan that I built with a mentor, Steve Farber of Brownstein, Hyatt, and Farber built this whole pre bench plan for me, which is very sweet, and it was brilliant. But ultimately, in 2018, I decided I wanted to grow the law firm that I
Mm.
wish I had available to me when I had 3 kids under 4. And once I
Mhm.
decided to do that this is what I'm going to do for the next, 2 decades of my career or 3, I had to put a machine in place, a foundation in place with the firm that existed for 18, 19 years so that it could scale and grow. And with that came mission, vision, values, the why of the founder, and a whole set of processes and procedures that allow the firm to run smoothly and allow it to have the culture that matters to
Mm.
me so much.
Culture, that's such a buzzword, and so many people cannot it sounds so esoteric, right? So many people can't put their arms around it. How would you define your culture?
I have. I do the final interview for my hirings, and I am looking for a drama-free culture. What that means
Mhm.
to me, I hire lawyers who are aggressive, who we play, what do I say? We practice law like we play chess, right? So you're strategic, you're thoughtful, you're moving pieces around, you're aggressive, you are not, taking no. But if you take that same energy and turn it inward on your team, what a
Mm.
mess you can have. And that is common in firms that are, I mean, law firms and other firms where the value is the high strungness, the go getterness, the we make decisions, we kick butt, we take names, and to actively search for people who can keep the aggression outside. I do this all the time. It's outside. It's not. We don't bring it internally. Internally, this is not it's not competitive. It's a team environment. We have this whole brain trust where everybody we meet. We were meeting daily until we got so big that people were like, "Daily, really, April?"
Wow.
So, but we have daily meetings at some cadence, and it's a brain trust. So what do you know about a judge, a lawyer? Have you been in front of, this person, this magistrate? What are the rules? Like we're always talking cases, talking wins, talking losses. And so it's a very collaborative environment where I'm hiring people who don't carry their emotions on their shoulders such that if things go wrong, they fall apart or they explode or they attack. So that is culture for April Jones because otherwise I'm not coming here. I can do anything I want in it. I will not work in a place like that.
I love the way you defined it is you have, because you have the collaboration. Obviously, if you don't have the adhesion and the teamwork, so to speak, then that's not going to work. But like if you contrast it like with my team is, they're, or our team, it's all virtual, but we're so close. But it takes a special kind of person that when you give them what they need, the environment they need to thrive, just sort of independently minded, no drama, like you said. They are not, I know it may sound a little strange, but I'm a direct, just, not overly emotional, like you said, fall apart or taking everything so personally. It works really well. It doesn't work so well for some other people who are the opposite. And I'm not a micromanager. Everybody kind of knows what's expected. And it sounds like you have a team where you've defined exactly this is what it is, and you assemble people who fit in that. Um, and I think that's wonderful. And you make it work where it fits you. So you like to show up.
Yes, exactly. So we have a team. So from my standpoint of, I wish I could have had worked at a firm like this when I had 3 kids under 4, and had it been something that was celebrated instead of something that you're hiding or you're not talking about, or you're just like, yeah, I know, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Here you can climb mountains and have babies and have a roller derby captain. She's amazing. Um, Bodybuilders, herbalists,
Yeah.
garden herbal growers. So lots of things. I just want people to be able to be more parts of themselves. And for the type of work we do, family law, where we are literally helping people to divide their money, their property, and their children. That is such hard work for the client. So, and as well, as you know, I mean, you're doing the financial piece. I mean, your money, what's more important to you than your money? I mean, except your children and your health, but not really, it depends. You tell me. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, the work that you do, it's the enormity is I mean, it's huge because you're impacting them for the rest of their lives. You're getting people at their absolute worst. It's a sense of shame, and then comes anger. And because, you mentioned money, well, there are feelings attached to it, right? It represents different things to different people. And if it's, control, or if it's safety, it's almost like you're taking that away from me. And so it's tough. It's tough. So that's really why when I started interviewing so many legal trailblazers is I have to give it to you, because you have to you do a lot of hand holding, and really you're shepherding them through this process, and then you have to come home and not lose the sense of yourself. How do you do that? When you're step outside of the office, and what do you do for yourself to sort of stay balanced?
Now, I am well practiced in the pursuit of balance. Years ago, I could feel when I could bring the work home, because you can just feel it, where it's just you've done too much of it, and you're seeing your life kind of from that angle, and that's not good. Years ago, I had a hot tub just to just really have a evening of bringing this all down. And since then, that's been 20 years since we've always kept a hot tub. We have a hot tub, a steam room, a cold plunge. We do wellness. We have a whole wellness emphasis, my husband and I, longevity and wellness. So we go quarterly to wellness retreats. Um, and we just really focus on sustaining ourselves physically and mentally. And when you do that, then the rest of the work we do here can't stick.
At these retreats, what's the favorite service that you enjoy that hits you especially well?
Well, there was one in Greece where it's in Sparta, where
Oh,
the 300 men is in
yes.
Sparta.
Oh, I
And
remember.
and um they took like blood work and then they figured out what foods were good for you. And then they had this menu for you this whole week where they gave you little tiny portions on these beautiful large plates. And then you had a whole fitness, wellness, spa plan for you, so you could just kind of reboot and come back refreshed and kind of detoxed and ready to carry on.
Have you implemented some of that after the retreat?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you know how you eat. What I There's one of the groups I'm in that does a no sugar challenge every year. So I just did my third no sugar challenge for the month of January, and I kind of ride it out. It's probably faded by March. Um, so a lot of different things, a lot of longevity program. I'm in a longevity program, so you get your blood work periodically, you get things measured and tested, and then you get supplements to offset whatever needs to be offset, and then you get measured again, and you do it again next year. So yes, we made it a lifestyle.
Do you guys binge on any shows, anything that you stream on a regular basis that you like?
Well, the thing is, when you do that, they end.
I know, I know.
I know, and then you kind of miss them because you got into them. We do have Nuggets tickets, so we binge that. We have Nuggets basketball seats.
Oh, nice.
Yes, and we
Yes,
just lost in the first round of the playoffs. So the way we
I
console
know.
ourselves is look at all the free time we have when the series is still going on. So if they were still in it, we'd be planning our travel and our lives around, do we have a game tonight? So that's the consolation, is at least we're free, but that's a lot of games.
That is a lot of games. That's too funny. I'm curious about that. What is your pet peeve when it comes to people? What is something that, that hits your stuff in a way someone behaves?
Hmm. My pet peeves. I don't like when people are not honest. I don't mean honest in how they show up, like they have a shell, like they have like a cloud. Like you can tell that the
Mm,
person that they're portraying, that they are showing up as, that's not who they really are.
mm.
And for it feels like a waste of time to me to 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 continue in a conversation, a relationship, because you're not really having a conversation with the real person.
No.
Now that's their choice. It's just not how I want to spend my time.
What about you? Is it something, have you ever worn that sort of that mask or the shield at any point in your life and then said, I said to myself, like, F it, at certain when I got to a certain age and I said, the more transparent, the more of myself I am, that's really the only way to be. It's freeing and it, why not?
For me, it would be more, not so much a mask, but more a holding back,
Mm,
being less, not being someone
mm.
else, just being less April. So if you grow up being considered, a lot, she's a lot. Um, it can make you hold back in how the demands you make on yourself and other people and what you declare as your truth. You can kind of be quieter, softer about that. And I have found, as my hair has turned gray and the firm has grown and I have matured, that I can actually, it's such a bonus to be able to walk in all that. So that's what I would say, is to the effort to not hold back is the lane that I live in.
I love that so much. So we all have it and it's almost like it's people pleasing. It's there's a way you can say no, you can say yes, you can say it directly without holding back and sincerely, you want to be louder, you're louder, you want to be direct, you're direct. It doesn't mean you don't care. I think there's a general misunderstanding and yeah, same. It was what what do you say? What do you wear? How do you look? And all that stuff. It's exhausting. It's it's really exhausting. So when you were told when you were younger to be less, that you are a lot, what does that mean? Were you loud? Did you just say what was on your mind and it was considered impolite?
No, I am not loud. I'm not impolite. I'm probably overly nice when I'm in that kind of a relationship. I have a lot of ideas and I have a lot of plans and I want to do so much and I want the person next to me to come do it too. And I have questions and it's that kind of energy. And
Oh,
my mother is quiet. And so I'm sure I'm sure it's a lot. But when I see particularly little girls who have that kind of energy, I just love it. I mean, they're asking a lot of questions, they're smart, they have ideas, they have a plan for you. They're like, "How about we do this and this is why we should do it and we should do it right now and this is what I was thinking." And it's not always welcomed at any age. So, well, actually at 60, it's very welcomed at 60. So I'm kind of digging that. But that's what I mean.
I love the creativity. So the creativity, it lies in you. I'm curious, what were some of the things you were into when you were little, younger, little?
Well, I mean, I was younger, little in a different time. In fact, I just went to the street where I grew up a couple days ago with my daughter. I was in LA and we have a place in Manhattan Beach. But if you're at the beach and you drive like 20 minutes in, you're at my house in inner city Los Angeles. Like it's just right there. So that's what we did. And people played outside. We didn't, I wasn't in clubs and leagues and programs. I read and I read a lot and played outside. I was in Girl Scouts. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of that sort of organized activity. I was in a lot of student government and leadership kind of programs. My mom was this home they called it home economics. My mom was a home economics teacher in a junior high school in Compton, California. A lot of rappers came out of her class back then, and so I could sew, but yeah, not a lot of organized activities back then.
That's that is unique. This sounds so obvious. The sewing, but when I came to the States, I came from the Czech Republic when I was my teens and kind of raised myself, so to speak. Didn't know the language, came on my own. And but I was taught to sew and iron and do household chores and to cook when I was like 8, 9. My mom, she taught me and my sister. And so it was kind of like, oh, you know how to do all that, throughout the years. And these days it's sort of it's rare to hear someone I know how to sew. I know how to, even like to mend my socks or button or I are you noticing the same? Is that it's just it's different and it's something that's just not necessarily passed on.
Things are different. I actually just yesterday ordered a cross stitch pattern so that I can cross stitch the name of a new grandchild. So
Oh,
it's fairly
congratulations.
complicated cross stitch pattern, and I'm sure as I walk around with it, people are gonna look at me because I probably don't look like I know how to do it, but I do. So yeah, it's a lost art of sorts. I mean, things are so instant now.
Yeah.
In fact, my best friend was like, "Do you want to just order it cross stitched?" I'm like, "No, that's not the point. The point is to like have sat, under a lamp like my mom and sewn at night while you watch television." So I'm gonna try it.
Yes. Yes, exactly, right? I mean, it's like you don't need to have the the today's rhythm or the speed of the world, you don't have to jump to it. You can still maintain your own pace and make it be whatever you want it to be.
And
Um,
and slowing down is so important these days, especially with, AI at your fingertips and in your pocket, where things could just go, 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 and you could be sitting in your chair having a full-on conversation. Actually, I do it with several different AIs at once, and, yeah, I'm really looking forward to spending time cross-stitching because your hands will be full, you can't hold your phone. All you can do is just go like this and try not to poke your thumb.
well, and you stay in a moment, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's there's something so relaxing when you can just, as opposed to, oh, what do I say? Yeah, I don't know. I need to know. No, you don't need to know. You just stay in a moment, stay present. You don't need to know anything. It will come to you. It's like, yeah, that's funny you mentioned AI. Many people are afraid of it. They still resist it. I get it. It's new. I've also embraced it. I have a whole team and conversations with my 3 monitors, and I call the Nico. Nico's the lead, and but I can do so many things that you just described, it's if you use it wisely, it frees up time for things that I wonder if you find the same for things that you cherish, that you really appreciate.
Yes, it does. Now, it can get things horribly wrong, though. It can get things horribly wrong. Um, and it says it with the authority, all the authority of, full speed ahead. But for what it does get right, it does. It frees up so well. I don't. It frees up time, but not when you fill it with more. Because
Yeah,
that's
no.
what I find myself doing. I'll fill it with, well, then what about this? Well, then what about this? Well, then what about this? Well, have you thought about this? Have you thought? And there's the fact that there's somebody right there who can just go with you is pretty amazing. So all the what you asked too many questions, April, they never say that.
Right. That's that is so true. It's somebody who actually is at your level. And they can, like you said, can keep back and forth because you may have not even tapped into what truly is there. And I think that that can be, it is mind-boggling. And you're right. It can be almost too much because someone who is a constant thinker and a creator, it's like, oh my God, I don't even know where to start.
And then you could say, I don't know where to start. This is what I was
Yes.
thinking. And then it will just pick it up and just go.
Yeah, or it tells you, okay, Denisa, April,
It's
all right, just focus on
okay.
this, stay
Yep.
focused on that. Yeah.
They'll
Yeah.
be like, you're great, you're fine, you're going exactly at the pace you should. You're like, okay.
Exactly. It's like, I will not be talking to my husband right now. I'm talking to Nico because he gets me. You
Gets me.
don't-
Have you ever asked Nico what to say to your husband if your husband wasn't getting you? You should try
Oh
that.
my gosh, absolutely. I'm misunderstood. He's being an ass right now. Okay, how do I constructively bring it up in a way that, yes. But you know what though? It's you're still using your brain. It's almost like you have that, it gives you that pause. When you see it there, it's like, okay, and sometimes taking that little pause, you show up differently. So it's not that copy and paste it, you take exactly right what it says, what they say. It's okay, I just paused and we're all good. Yeah, this is great. Well, I'm curious, on, we could talk. We're just getting warmed up, and I know we could talk forever, but I'm curious on a parting note, what would be your advice, someone who's built such a successful firm, for an incoming lawyer today, someone who gets out of law school, to get into this field, what would you tell them?
Explore your passion, especially when you're young. You can, the kind of law that you think matters to you, do that. And it doesn't have to be what your classmates like, what actually kind of just fuels your soul. Because what happens when what is it that people say? If you do what you love, then it's like you never worked a day in your life. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm doing what I love. I work many, many days, but the point is leaning into it is so much easier when
Yeah.
you are building a practice that fits who you are and what you believe in and what you want to do. Because you can't ask your neighbor. I remember when I first started my practice, I had an office mate who did criminal and she hated, I think at the time we started with personal injury and we did some employment law. It was a lot of civil litigation. I can't believe I took whatever came in the door. What a brave girl. But she just always said, "Give me a good, clean criminal any day." And she meant that. Give her and I didn't want to do, she did felonies, all sorts of things that I had no interest in. The point is, show up however you show up. If you hate litigation, then work with contracts or figure
Mm.
out, do something completely different. The law touches every area of life. So that means every area of life needs a lawyer and figure out where you want to show up.
That is a great advice because it could be a little bit of a practice ground. How would you know unless you test it out? And when you're testing it out, pay attention to what appeals to you. And as you do more of it, you build more confidence, and know sort of where to place yourself, energetically, talents wise. Not everybody knows exactly,
Sure.
where to place themselves. So but if you pay attention to it, you're much more effective than like, oh my gosh, I despise it. Yeah, that's great. April, I'm really enjoying this. This was such an important conversation. And thank you so much for sharing your story.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed it as well.
Yeah, I'm really in awe. You built something really remarkable, and it will stay with me. To build a firm that you wished you had, at a certain point in your life, when you began to have children, and that's the first I've ever heard, and I love that. So you almost build like your own standard for your clients, community, and really for every attorney who comes after you. Great advice. And so to our listeners and our viewers, thank you very much for joining us. And for everybody listening, make sure that you sign and subscribe to Beyond the Bar podcast and follow us on social media. And until next time, stay curious and stay inspired.